coffee. That's coffee, and that's Aaron. I'm Jerico Woggon. This is Aaron Riggs. And
We're
this is Coffee
Summerland
with
kids.
Yeah, we're the Summerland kids. It's early. Our brain is like just slowly starting like the little rabbit on the wheel or the rat on the wheel.
We're squirrels on a wheel today.
Squirrels on a wheel. Today it's 56 in Summerland. Currently 70 degrees is the high today. Partly cloudy. We have a high wind advisory in Summerland apparently today. Hopefully it's blowing offshore Santa Ana style. I have no idea. It's June 13th. It's Thursday. It's June 2024, baby. Here we are.
We made it this far, Jericho.
I know.
There's an outbreak of grasshoppers around here that I've been watching on the news.
Wow, that's crazy. Those little buggers can be pretty wild, huh?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them, but not like I've seen on the news. On the news, some places they're just everywhere. Like,
wow.
I guess I'm lucky. I still got some of my garden going.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you guys get some rain or no rain? Did you guys get a little rain recently?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Yeah, we got some rain.
It was kind of a late rain. You got rain?
Yeah, we got rain the other day, a couple inches out. Jason thought we'd been getting some mulch and spreading some mulch around, like some,
wood
local,
chips?
Yeah, wood chips, yeah, and spreading that out to in little areas, making little chill zones, like especially in the back garden area. I got all that done with the wood chips and stuff, and so that's a nice way to keep the mud down. Avoid the mud action.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We got a bunch of it, over the garden, and kind of we got a little wood area that it's probably 4 or 5 inches worth, but
wow.
we spread it out so it's a nice little work area when not me, but I got a buddy that brings some wood over and chops wood from time to time. He basically collects wood all summer long.
Nice.
And then sells, brings the wood to people that need it for heating. That's
great. Yeah, that's huge. That's how we heat the cabin with wood. And thankfully, last season, a neighbor of mine, we called him up, and he let me take a couple trees off his land that were already fallen down, and one was a dead standing tree, and they were like 100-year-old trees, man. Pretty incredible, big ass pine trees.
Yeah, when we were back on the coast, that was our heating.
Oh, wow.
And so it was nice, but it wasn't nice because if we woke up cold, you had to start the fire. And then you know how it is on the coast. You wake up and it's foggy and it's cold and you're shivering. So you start a fire and within an hour and a half, it gets warm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was having to do that. First thing in the morning, right away, to start the fire and then prepare the wood the night before. Bring in wood. That way you don't have to go outside in 0 temp / whatever it is in the morning and deal with that stuff.
Yeah, and then with the rain and stuff, your wood gets wet if you don't bring a certain amount in or cover it right. And
yeah, no, it's a full on deal up here for sure. It seems like it evens out with the labor it takes to do it yourself and stack it and all that. Maybe it's comparable to having it delivered, but you never know. It's like I have a friend up in Alaska. She was having trouble getting wood, and these people were dropping off. I'm bringing you a cord of wood, and they'd be like, "Not a cord of wood," that whole thing. So sometimes those wood guys can be a little shady. I guess.
Yeah, especially when you're buying it, because exactly. There's a lot of labor involved, and
for sure.
And so when you're buying it, you got to realize it's not just the wood you're buying the labor of the person to load it on the truck, bring it on the truck, cut it. Sure, there's lots of free wood out there, but not a lot of free labor.
I know. Yeah, that's what's up. Exactly. God. So yeah, just the labor, living on home on the range, like whether it's getting water or, I filled up I found out the pitchfork is actually an awesome use on the wood chips to load those suckers. Cause it's not the flawless little chips. It's kind of like a little, little, I guess it's a variety of sizes. So
chunks and chips.
Chunks and chips, and the pitchfork does work pretty well for that. So that's cool. So finally making a use for a pitchfork. So you really you feel like a real man when you have a pitchfork and you're loading shit into the back of your truck. Excuse my language, but yeah.
Makes for big muscles.
Yeah, right. Gets you going, So
hey, Jerico, do you watch any news?
Lately, not as much as normal. I when I'm on my because I got my house guest J-Bra, and so I'm on a different pattern. I guess I'm on my own pattern, which is I get up before the sunrise, and this morning I was watering and such but I haven't been catching up. I do sometimes check into the online a couple of places like Huffington Post and Drudge Report, just to like check the I guess it's like checking a newspaper feed or something, but
kind of scan the headlines and stuff.
Yeah, scan the headlines. I'm not super on it though, so I'm kind of a little right now. I'm just kind of off it, slightly, but but it's always going in the background. Mom's fully in it. Mom's a classic Fox Newser.
All right.
Yeah.
I like the Fox News. I guess the news that we got here is the grasshoppers, of course. But I was watching something. I don't know if you know what the View is.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the View. Yeah.
It's just weird. It's just weird watching, because I'll get these clips, through my feed, and I'm like, who are these people and what are they talking about? It has no relevance to my world, does it?
Right. Yeah, I think the View would be kind of like I guess if, like, for example, if you and me took a slightly different path in our life, and maybe I don't know what we would have done, but it would have been more of a straight-laced pattern, and then we would be sitting at a round table with a bunch of other folks that took that same route-ish pattern, and so they're not the wild bunch as far as I know. That's what I.
Yeah, it's I had this weird dream last night.
Right.
That I was like just at like a little barbecue kind of get together thing, but the presidential candidates were there.
Oh wow.
And they were having a debate, right?
Okay.
But it wasn't a real debate. It was just a little private debate. And it was just weird, It's like, how come I can sit here and how come I got invited to this? And it just made me wonder, because that's some of the news I get. And it is an election year. And I do always enjoy the debates because that's something that America is built on, right?
Right.
Different ideas and conversation and public forums and stuff. And I just think it's interesting because some of the news is like, oh, is there going to be a debate this year? Well, I don't know.
I heard they were planning on it. I heard it was going to, last I heard it was going to happen. And my thought when you said that was, this is going to be the, what would it be? Tyson versus, did Tyson ever fight that kid? Did that ever happen?
I don't know. I've been watching the news about it, and I'm just kind of getting, like, by the time the fight comes out, I think I'm burned out on who cares who wins. I hope they both get their faces punched off. I imagine they're both enjoying it, because why would you be in a fight unless you enjoyed getting your face punched off?
Right, especially by a guy like Tyson. I mean, there's got to be a fear factor there. You don't want to kill someone. Of course, you want to, I guess, ideally knock them out, or, you pretty much have to, it's who knocks who out first is really the ultimate quest, I guess, in that realm.
I guess if we're talking about it and it comes up on our feed, we might get this might be our
debut. Yeah,
debut. All of a sudden we're viral because we're like, oh yeah, they're both gonna get their faces punched off. And I wonder what happens. But it's like there's so much buildup, it's like I just look at it, I'm just getting this weird, like, oh, everybody's marketing it and marketing it and marketing it. And oh gosh, like that one fight, it was like I forget who it was, but it was one round, and everyone's like, oh, what a disappointing fight. They spent over a year promoting this fight, and it's over in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What?
That one, the kid, the guy, he's a young man. He's like a YouTuber.
Jake Paul,
right? Jake Paul. Is it John Paul or Jake Paul? I think it's Jake Paul.
Jay Paul? I don't know.
Yeah, Paul somebody.
Paul James?
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
But I heard about him because one of my friends, her son was a little young kid, and he was super into it because those guys, when you're a young man and then relating it to the comic books or something, you're fascinated with pretty much everything, especially if it makes you laugh. And maybe if there's girls involved or not, or if it's boys and they're just doing funny boy stuff or young men stuff, it's incredibly fascinating to watch. I mean, we as young men, all we had to watch was frickin' Croft Superstar Slee Stack and a Spider-Man funny ass dude. We were talking about yesterday, the TV show Spider-Man, Batman. I mean, that was almost on the realm of comedy, but it was slightly serious / So I guess this just takes to the next level with Jake Paul and his YouTube antics prior to becoming a fighter and getting all tatted up, all the tattoos and stuff.
Just like tattoos. Woo!
Yeah. Just like Justin Bieber. I mean, we saw Justin Bieber grow up from a little kid, like literally like freaking Mickey Mouse Club or something, like a little 10-year-old boy or 11, 12, 13, 14. But then when he got up to 15, 16, he started hanging out with some musical influences and people that he idolized because he was probably making a decent living at that point, and afforded him to be in sort of like the big boys club, even though he was still like a young boy, if you will. But that guy's growing up, man.
I mean, well, that's kind of the age, like some of the Archie comics you were sharing this morning. It's like, it just reminded me, back in high school, the biggest thing was, oh gosh, girls. All of a sudden you're going from Hot Wheels and skateboards and bikes to girls. Oh, what is this?
Like totally remember myself, like what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I kind of, when you get, some like independent, taking care of parents, and all of a sudden you're taking on this like adult parenting role, even though I'm not a parent myself, but taking care of my parents, it's almost like reversing the whole thing. It's like all of a sudden your parents are the young kids. Now you're the one who's taking care of them. But then you forget about, hey, what about your own love life? What about my fun? What about my life and marriage? Whatever. Shout out to my ex-wife. Kelly.
Hey, we got Tigger knows a lot of people. I love this little cup, man. Every day I wake up and I find my little Tigger cup, and I'm like, "Oh, Tigger!" and I start bouncing around. Well, after I fill them up and get them down to about there, the first round, then I'm like, "Oh, coffee, Tigger!"
Exactly.
Woo!
God, met some cool people yesterday. Like J-Bra found a cool place down by the river downtown, and there's a couple places that are now you can park there by the river, but he's thinking fast forward a few more years and you won't be able to park down there anymore. But right now there's parking that you can park at and then walk down and hang out down by the river, and you can watch the people float by in the rafts because they're doing river rafting, floating down the river.
Oh yeah, it's river rafting season. We always forget about that.
It's totally river rafting season, and they're saying like something about like it's not quite tubing season yet, but we're getting close. So because they're not encouraging it yet because it's a little too fast and a little too radical, for the tubers.
Yeah, I remember that. We used to, when I lived in Oregon for a little bit, there was this little river, and basically it was almost across the street. I think it was like maybe down a quarter block, but you could get in the river, get on the inner tube, and it would go for like
No
half the
way.
day,
Wow.
maybe. And then we get out of the river, and it was only like a 2 block walk back to the house. I guess the river
Oh,
meandered around and
wow.
came back
That's awesome.
down.
That's cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the Yuba River when I was up there in Nevada City. That was freaking amazing, gorgeous. Like that water is just like almost like emerald blue, emerald green, like that gorgeous color, and there's those big rocks all around the river, so it's so unique and so gorgeous. I'm sure you've been up there, right, to the Yuba River?
I haven't
Okay.
been to the Yuba, but like literally the Feather River
Oh,
cuts
okay.
right through town.
Nice.
So there's actually a Orville
Oh,
wilderness
cool.
area. So you go in the main entrance, and there's like, the little map and the little ranger station, but it goes for, I guess, several miles on both sides of the river, where there's like little trails and little roads, and you can pull, like literally some spots you can pull
Wow.
right up to the river, get out of your truck or car, and there's a couple steps and you're
Amazing.
in the river. And so we went there yesterday. I was the big
Right.
party pooper. I was just
Yeah.
overheating. Like it just hit me. I guess it was 100 and something, at least
Wow.
100 yesterday. And so we went to the river, and I just couldn't handle the
Yeah.
heat. And I wasn't in the kitchen. It was so
Right.
hot.
Yeah.
Anyway, I felt like the party pooper because, we're at the river, and all I can think about is, gosh, it's too
Right.
hot, and the water's too cold. It's moving too fast. The rocks are on my feet. I had 150 different
Right.
crybaby moments.
Was there any shade
And it
by
was
the
just,
river? Is there trees by the river or no?
yeah,
Is there?
there's some
Yeah.
spots, there's shade
That's
there,
cool.
and it's just, I didn't realize how much water goes through that
Wow.
Feather
Yeah,
River.
this especially,
The
I
Orville
think it's
Dam
still melting off the.
is the highest
Well,
dam.
yeah, it's probably still melting the snow off. I mean, can you guys ever see snow still or not so much?
Um,
No. Okay.
no,
Not from
I
your
don't.
area.
The last time I seen it, we actually went up to the secret,
Yeah.
don't tell anybody about the hideouts where all the
Okay.
gold is. But we went up there, and there was some snow, all the north facing sides and around the corners, there's still snow up on the thing. And I guess that was around
Okay.
April.
That makes sense. Yeah, because the ski resort up here closes in April, promptly like mid-April or something. Some resorts stay open later. I think I would guess that Mammoth might still be open. I'm not 100% sure. But last season, I think they got some pretty substantial snow. It wasn't as devastating as a couple years ago where people's roofs were collapsing up in Big Bear. That whole thing. But
I
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I got a friend that's up that's got family or friends or whatever, grew up there in
okay,
Big Bear, and I forget when it was. I was down in L.A. Actually gave him a car, said, "Here,
right.
have a car." Um,
That's cool.
it's still supposedly it's still parked on some
Right.
property up there,
I
but
saw your post about your truck yesterday. Congratulations on the truck. I think you're doing the right thing because you've done some more research on the truck and you found out about that motor and they use it in some fast cars. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's fun. I didn't realize that it was going to be so much to get it registered. I thought it'd be one of Summerland pickers. We're always looking for
Yeah,
the
I
easy
know, right?
cash. Uh, but then I realized, yeah, this is kind of I see the same vehicle
Okay.
around, but I don't see them for
Okay.
sale.
Yeah.
It's like, when people get them and they're running good, they keep them because, I mean, a V10
Right.
Magnum, that's a Dodge V10. I guess the same motors in a Dodge Viper. So it's a fast
cool.
truck.
Yeah. And so what was I thinking about? Oh, so my dad recently re-registered his truck and trailer, and it cost him like $850. So because and up here in Colorado, they don't have smog, but he let his registration expire, but it wasn't that far out of expiration, and they gave him new plates. I'm like, what? Like, that's weird. So it's like, I don't know if the new plate has a special microchip in it or what the game is there, but they're just like, hey, you're out. Okay, here's new plates. That'll be so maybe it was like, I guess I'd have to ask him what the specific cost was on the truck, because it's a 2000 truck. It's a year 2000. So it's you'd think it'd be, I don't know, maybe just because the plates, maybe the plates were $100 themselves or something, or more than 100. I have no idea.
I think when you have a truck, because the truck I had, there's no information on it, right? Like when I go to the DMV and they're like, it's not in our system.
Okay.
And okay, what do I have to do? Well, one of the things is you have to go get it weighed, because trucks are considered a commercial vehicle. Okay, so a commercial vehicle, it's, a little more expensive. And then I paid the fee, went and got it weighed, and they said, oh, it's more than we estimated. You got to pay more. And then I had to have the guy come out and verify the VIN since it wasn't on the records. And it was just the whole process. I understand. Yeah, we want to know who you are. Right. I mean, it's a lot different than back in the day where in Summerland, I think everyone knew everyone else in Summerland when we grew up.
Yeah.
We're pretty close to it.
For sure. And then you probably
and nowadays,
back then we probably
could be anybody.
Knew the people at the DMV too. We probably knew the people at the DMV. I mean, it's like when you're a young kid, you go in there when you're 16 years old or something like that, and then next year you go back when you're 18 and done. It's like, there's that same lady I met 2 years ago, or however often you have to that reminds me, I got to get my freaking license redone, dude. God, yeah. So I'm gonna have to.
You got to get a Colorado license, or are you keeping your California license?
I have a Colorado license, and I got it. I got it when I first got here in 2020. So now it's. I think it might expire on my birthday, because my birthday is coming up July 1st, and so I'm gonna probably have to run down to Durango. I guess it'd be next week. Down to the DMV office, or just check in, see what's up. Maybe I'll go into the local office today after work and just see, because we have a local little DMV office. So it's just one of those things, you got to get it done. So.
Yeah, because I went in there to get this truck registered, and then there's this little piece of paper that says this DMV no longer does this, that, or the other thing. You have to do it online. You can do it mail. And I just, because there's a couple people in line, we were talking, and this one guy's all frustrated. He's like, older gentleman. He's like, no, computer, blah, not computer. Don't want to deal with computer. And, the fact that it says right there, after, I think it may be June 1st or July 1st, they no longer do that at the office. You have to do it online or at the kiosk or by mail.
Yeah, it's getting weird. That's what Jason said. In California, the DMV is like getting rid of the human element or something. It's like going more computer related. It's like kind of like at the store, it's like self-checkout, but more complicated because of all the details of the DMV. Always seems so complicated, Yeah.
Yeah. And like the whole area where people do the testing, the written test, no one was there, but they had 5 or 6 little computer stations.
Oh,
take the test on the computer.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. I guess we could have mixed thoughts about that, but it's just, as time goes on.
Right. Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, I guess everybody nowadays is switching over, like the old days of not being able to be being computer not savvy, are kind of over. They just expect everyone, especially because we all have our cell phones in our hand, which is essentially a computer. They're just relying on that everyone has the capability to get online and deal with their stuff online, you know.
I have to keep moving. See if I go over here. Oh, it's the sun.
Yeah.
The sun. Oh, I come over here, the shade.
Exactly.
You just got to keep
God.
moving.
Nice trees in the background, by the way. Nice trees. You got some green background, which is nice, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. We get a little bit of
That's good.
shade.
That's cool. So
And that's always
today we're
nice.
sponsored by Tigger and the Feather River.
Oh, indeed.
Exactly.
Indeed,
And
Tigger.
yeah.
Oh, my favorite.
My precious.
Mm.
Exactly. God.
Mm.
So June, man.
My precious. Yeah, don't you dare take my coffee
Yeah,
from me.
exactly.
You'll get one of these, an exclamation. It might be
Yeah.
look at the little shadow. It's
That's
like a little
awesome.
exclamation point.
Classic.
Isn't that cool?
Where'd you get that cup, man? Where'd you get that cup? Do you remember?
Chances are I got it from a yard sale or a.
That's what's up. My whole house, my mom used to go by yard sales on the way to work. She worked at the Valley Club in Montecito, that one golf course at like a country club, the Valley Club. And so she got in a habit of stopping by yard sales on the way to work and maybe after work in Montecito. And she collected like hundreds of little cats and freaking little animals and different kinds of salt and pepper shakers. And, you know, I think she focused on the smalls. So, because she was driving a little Mazda Miata. So whatever she could fit in a little box and take home. And so the cabin is literally like loaded on the shelves with all sorts of like fairy tale wonderland stuff, you know? So.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of one of the reasons I'm like, oh yeah, I need a big long bed truck because I've got a good little Toyota, but it's got the box camper shell on it, right?
That's cool.
So like it does have like a little drawer tray that pulls out of the bed. So like when we got that video game, Space Gun, I don't know if you remember that a few weeks ago, we had to like pull it out. And it was sitting on the back of the the tailgate drawer. But like big things, it can be kind of difficult. Now I got this big truck. And I've decided, you know, me and the girlfriend have talked. She's like, gosh, it's going to be more than you paid for the truck and the registration just to get the catalytic converter smogs on it. And she's like, just sell it as it is. And I'm like, well, that's kind of my process when I get a vehicle. If I'm going to keep it, I get it up to a certain level of safety and nothing wrong with it. And if I decide to sell it, it's a lot easier to sell. I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever sold a vehicle and you're like, oh, it's got this, it needs that, and people just turn away. But when you say everything's good, instead of trying to nickel and dime you down, they're like, how much are you asking? You know, so it's, you know, it may or may not be my best decision.
Well, do you think you'll have like 3,500 or 4,000 in it by the time you're done?
I figure about $4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do all the filters and spark plugs and distributor cap, get the new coils, get everything, you know, to where I'm like, okay, girlfriend, you can drive it. I feel it's safe. And then once it's like that, I figure, you know, if I do decide to sell it, it'll be worth more. It'll be an easier sell. And like I was saying, it's hard to find that particular model for sale. Like the 4-wheel drive ones, you see those for sale, but they're like 10 grand still, you know, a 30-year-old car for 10 grand.
Wow. Yeah. So I think that one might be desirable for like a farm truck, like for the guys that, you know, don't have the need for 4-wheel drive all the time, but they need a good, reliable truck and they don't want to spend 50 grand on it or 60 or 70,000 or 80 grand like the trucks cost. It's like, hey, maybe it's a young man in his 20s who's working a construction job and he can throw down 7 grand for your truck and you'll be good. I don't know what amount you'll end up getting, but you know, when you're 20 or 30 years old and you're like up and coming, maybe you're not jumping that that far ahead yet, in terms of spending that much money. So.
Yeah, and it really is. If I decide to keep it, I keep it. If I decide to sell it, the ones that I did find for sale, there's really not many less than
Okay.
4,500. And the ones that are less than 4,500 are stripped down, and the motor itself I see for about 2,500. Right. So regardless, it's not going to break the bank per se if I don't get 100% of my money back if I decide to sell it. But it looks like if I get everything correct, there's a little bit of meat on the bones per se if I do decide to sell it.
Cool.
So makes it worth my time.
Well, we did another show, man. That's episode number 49. Tomorrow's show number 50. So that's pretty.
Did you?
So.
Oh, I'm supposed to show you my hot pepper. I don't.
Right in front of you.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get.
Is that a habanero?
That is a jalapeno.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, in the garden.
The lady I bought it from said they get really big. They're
sweet.
Like big boy
That's
jalapenos.
Rad. That's awesome. Yeah, we got. I guess Sarah Silverman, that comedian lady, said that something about squirrels, and they actually lose 80% of the nuts that they bury, apparently. But she said, that by default they become trees. The seeds they plant become trees. And our squirrels are planting all the sunflower seeds my mom gives them. So we have a bunch of sunflowers popping up unexpectedly. At least that's what J-Bob thinks, but I don't know. Maybe I'll replant them in another box because, of course, they're coming up where I don't want them to come up. But nonetheless, maybe I'll transplant some of those squirrel planted plants and see what happens.
Every squirrel's got to get a nut, so I guess it's that time. Tigger and Feather River.
We're coffee with the Summerland kids.
Oh yeah,
like and subscribe.
You tell them what to do today, Jericho. Tell them what to do.
Share. Have a great day, guys.